Hello there, and welcome. Well, today I want to suggest something about how teachers can stay intellectually limber. So let me explain a little bit what I mean by that. When you're teaching, it is way less than ideal if you're only operating 1 or 2 days ahead of the class. If you're having to learn it just before the kids learn it, it is difficult to plan. It's difficult to answer cumbersome questions. It's difficult to anticipate what might happen. So being just a couple days ahead of the kids is really terrible. It's much better if you have a little bit of expertise from the beginning of the year and you kind of know what you've got in mind and where you're going. That said, there's another end to this problem, and it has to do with intellectual flexibility. When you go into a class, let's say it's more of what we want, the students are going to be here and your expertise is going to be above them. Imagine, metaphorically speaking. The problem comes with experience. Each year, students come into a class, and I'm talking about public school classrooms. I'm not talking about classes where people participate in a more of a self-guided way. But each year, the students in the class come in and they are fresh to the material. So every year that I taught freshmen, they were always 14 and 15-year-olds that had no training from me. So the first year it was like this, and then the next year it was a little bit different, and a little bit different, and a little bit different. And what happens in this situation is each year I got a little bit more experienced, a little older, a little more informed about the material I was presenting, or a lot, depending upon how hard I myself studied. As that gap widened, it got more and more difficult. It would get more and more difficult to reach down to where students are and pull them as far forward or as far up the hill of learning as possible. So, how could I keep myself in a situation where being flexible enough to go where they were and bring them forward was possible? Well, one way was to vary the curriculum. So English is particularly good at doing this, and history can do it pretty well too, and that is that every year I would introduce some new elements to the course, new novels to read, new materials to look at, and what would happen in that case is because some of it was new and fresh, then I was new and fresh to the material too, and it made it easier for me to communicate with students because I was more empathetically stationed in relation to them. So that was a way to stay intellectually limber. Now that may not be possible for some classes. Math classes are tricky that way. So what's another way to stay limber? Well, one way that I tried, as well as the keeping things fresh in the curriculum of the class, is to teach different levels in different classes. That way, you don't get calcified into a subject area. Even if you've taught the subject area before, but it may have been a while since you've done that, it'll be fresh and new as you come in, and you're more likely to have a fresher and more limber and approachable take on the material that you're teaching. So changing the curriculum for you can keep you limber. That way, you're still an expert, you're a great expert, but you're also in at least a partial discovery mode with the students. Now, what if that's not possible? What if you simply don't have that as an option, which some people don't? What we teach and who we teach in any sort of working teaching job is not really necessarily up to us. It's up to our supervisors. What's the last way? Take a class while you're teaching a class. And that worked for me a lot. I mentioned yesterday that I took voice lessons from Len Werner. It really taught me what it's like to be in a class and feel uneasy about presenting material to the teacher. It really reminded me what it's like to suffer from lack of confidence or anxiety when you're in a lesson. Those things helped me identify with and communicate with my students. And those things helped keep me honest when I was doing things that were maybe a little bit too much to ask of students. One thing that teachers sometimes do is read my mind. We ask leading questions. And so we'll ask a leading question, and if the students try to answer it and fail to go the direction we're going, we're like, no, not that. That's not a good idea. If you ask a leading question and the student answers it in a surprising way, stop yourself and think about it a minute. It's not going to take long for you to consider that response, because maybe what's going on is you're giving messages that are misleading to them, and you need to apologize to that. You need to say, look, I'm sorry I put it that way. Let me try a different way of putting it, because that's a perfectly legitimate response, but I was looking for something slightly different. When you're honest with students, it can be really helpful. If you don't know the answer to something, that can be really helpful to say, I don't know, I'll look it up, I'll get back to you. But even more helpful is, okay, I understand where your confusion is, and I'm going to try to find a better way to address that confusion. This ability to regard students with respect and to value them, and to understand that they may be trying hard and still not doing quite what you want, that ability can make the difference between a good teacher and a great teacher. Because great teachers are interested in helping every student that crosses their path. They may not always do it. It may not be in their toolkit or in their wheelhouse, as we like to say, to help every student that comes in the room. But I will say this, fairly late in my career I began to realize if they're in the room, I have a job to do. As long as they're in my room, my job is to try to teach them as much as I can. And I want to encourage you to be open to the vulnerability of the students, open to the struggles that they have, so that you may remain a limber and intriguing thinker. And if you can do that, you'll be demonstrating for them not just the content, not just the skills, but a subtler thing. An example of self-respect that can be applied to all around them. So if I respect myself and that person is my student, then I need to respect that student. We are, in essence, a cohort. We work together. We're a team. And therefore, even if they struggle with being respectful, I can demonstrate it. That's it for today. I hope you have a glorious rest of the day, and I hope you see me soon. You gorgeous people.